Creve Coeur Board of Education meeting is now called to order. Roll call, please.
Mr. Giddens?
Here.
Mrs. Cagle?
Here.
Catherine Reagan?
Here.
Valerie Reagan?
Here.
Mrs. Tyler?
Here.
Mrs. Greiner here. Mrs. Bailey?
Here. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Hitchens, would you like to read the mission vision statement, please?
Okay. Creve Coeur School District 76 mission is, it is the mission of Creve Coeur School District 76 in partnership with home and community for all students to obtain the necessary knowledge, skills, and self-motivation to become lifelong learners, socially responsible citizens, and active participants in their ever-changing world. Our vision is, in keeping with the mission statement, Creve Coeur School District 76 will provide students with access to the current curriculum and the tools necessary to enable them to become competent, lifelong learners.
I'd like to welcome everyone that's here tonight. Are there any presentations by the audience on action items on the agenda? That's anything that's listed on the agenda. We will have another audience participation later in the meeting. Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to action items. We need a motion regarding the speech therapy vendor contract.
I'll make the motion to approve a one-year contract with BMS Speech Services Limited for speech services beginning on or about August 20th, 2015 and expiring at the end of the 2015-2016 school year at the rate of $62 per hour.
Second.
Discussion? Questions?
The rate went up, what, 50 cents or something like that?
I believe that's what Mr. Aldridge said, was 50 cents an hour.
How much did it cost us last year? I mean, I know it's been a bit altogether.
It's approximately $110,000 last year.
I was wondering if it would be cheaper if we, I know we probably couldn't, the employer own, I mean, we have in the past, and then we contracted out, but it's probably hard to get our thing.
I did some preliminary investigations regarding employing two speech pathologists because of the caseload, the number of students that we have during the school year, we would need two because it is limited to the number on a speech and language pathologist caseload. So I looked at two. Newly graduated therapists are finding salaries in the range from $50,000 to $70,000 and on up in the larger school districts and special education cooperatives. That's salary alone, okay? The total cost for our district for one therapist, if we could get somebody at the lowest rate, $50,000, plus your TRS, about $5,700, insurance or health insurance costs for single rate would be about a total of about $65,000 employee cost, okay? If we can hire someone at that amount, if we can find it. Not to mention some of the other increases, payroll taxes and things like that that happen. The cost of adding two employees would exceed the amount of anticipated cost of this contract, which would be around $115,000 with the small increase there. So, but that's on a needed basis depending on the needs of our students. So it may, you can't put a specific dollar amount. That's why it's a per hour situation. So $62 an hour for two speech pathologists is going to come out to about $115,000 total cost for all of us. So I don't think I know that we cannot engage Tazewell Mason Special Education Cooperative to look for us and purchase that service. all right? That has to be done back in February is when they have their survey for services that districts want, okay? At that time, I wasn't looking for two speech pathologists. If we want to investigate that, I can see what they would cost, what the cost would be to purchase services from Tazewell Mason. But I can, with pretty good assurance, tell you that it'll be more than $62 an hour.
Mr. Aldridge, I did look up something just before the meeting. Roughly, we're using maybe 10 hours a day of speech. Does that sound about right? I'm looking at old bills, old annual statement of affairs I looked up. I went all the way back to 2011 real quick. The year ending 2014, we spent for BMS, we paid them $104,263. The year ending 2013, it cost the district $92,807. In the year 2012, it was $78,017. In the year 2011, it was $35,970. That was on an annual statement of affairs from the district. And it looks like we're needing the services more and more, and we're not out hunting and searching and beating the brush trying to find qualified people. I'm in favor of signing this contract tonight while we got them locked down, servicing this district so we don't lose the individuals and then start scrambling. Because I know 20 years ago we had a real hard time filling those positions.
Okay, I'm not clear with what you're saying, Mr. Giddens. You're saying start scrambling as in eggs or what?
Well, I don't want to have to go hunting. I don't want to lose the people if we can lock them in tonight.
Okay.
I don't want to lose.
Right.
But am I, go ahead, I'm sorry. I don't want to
That's it. I just want to
mouth.
lock in a contract tonight
Okay,
while we got people.
okay.
If we drag this on too much further,
All right.
they may say you can only have one BMS because they're short employees. I don't want to get in that situation. That's a possibility, correct?
It is, that is correct. However, the contract that we signed with BMS is for the services that are needed for Creve Coeur school districts. And I don't know about that $35,000, but I bet you there was grant money or some other money used in there because that was ridiculously low. So we go back, last year, $104,000, so pretty close to 110, right?
Right.
There is an increase. I mean,
Yes.
we are seeing students with more significant needs move into this district. There's no doubt about that. All right. We can pull those numbers very easily from special education to show you that students are being not only serviced but also screened. We do Head Start screenings. We do ECE screenings. We screen students that may not necessarily need services, but still that is an hourly cost of the service. You see what I'm saying? So
Okay.
the therapist sits down and tests a kid, all right? She's taking an amount of time to do that. We get charged.
Yes.
That kid's found not to need services, okay? So, that student goes on their happy way, and we're not paying continuing costs, but we still have to pay for those screening type services. So, to say 10 hours per week probably is not
It's not okay.
a day. I'm sorry, a day. Yeah, even for 50 hours a week. Yeah, that's probably close to it because we are at 82, I believe, 82 students with special needs. I'm sorry, not special needs, but speech language services. And that includes students who are speech, language, and that is the only service they receive. And that's also students who are speech, language, and in other special education services. So they do see across the board a lot of different kids. So I don't see that it is a out of extreme by any means, but I want to go back and get an understanding. Is the board directing the superintendent to search for speech language services beyond the 2016 school year? because I need to start that
Oh,
now.
I understand that. I'm not. I mean, I'm just looking.
I just want you to know, we can't come back in March next year and say, well, we want, why didn't we get
Right.
SLPs? No, I gotta start now, because I gotta contact the universities, I gotta, start talking people up, like you said, shaking the trees and dogging the bushes to try to find somebody. I just wanna know where you want me to go with this. So,
I'm comfortable with the services because I know the trouble is we may hire somebody and they don't show up the next day because they got a better offer. That's from experience in the past,
does that?
in the speech.
Yes, especially in those services.
Yeah, in those certain areas, it's happened to this district before. They don't show up.
Students are used to these people because we do get the same therapists, right?
That is correct.
Oh, very good. Mrs. Tyler, do you have any questions?
Are evaluations completed on the staff?
I'm sorry?
Are evaluations completed on the staff?
Are evaluations completed on the staff? These are contractors. So, no, we don't evaluate those staff.
Oh, no, you already answered my question.
What the qualifications are there?
Fully qualified by the state of Illinois, have their licenses, continuing education, all of those things. Yes, they are mandatory by the State Board of Education that they have to keep those things up, yes.
And I think most of the speech, isn't that a master's, minimum master's?
At the very minimum, and then most of them have beyond that, other certification beyond that. So, yes.
Mrs. Cagle, anything else? Roll call, please.
Mr. Gibbons.
Aye.
Mrs. Cagle.
Aye.
Catherine Reagan.
Aye.
Val Reagan.
Aye.
Mrs. Tyler.
Aye.
Mrs. Griner. Aye. Mrs. Bailey.
Aye. Motion carried. Excuse me. I need a motion regarding the federal surplus property program.
I'll make the motion to approve the federal surplus property program agreement as presented.
Second.
Discussion, questions? Mr. Aldridge has given us quite a bit of information here. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, but we just take it back in the habit of some things. It says as presented, but nobody in the audience knows what was presented to the board. This surplus package, if I understand it, in the package that we got, it is at no cost to the district. There was a lot of paperwork that we had to file to prove our tax levels and everything else. We got stuff, I think, from the Caswell County and everything else. The only time we spend any money is if we make purchases. I remember purchasing a bunch of computers, laptops, I believe it was, and I've seen in the notes there where you bought some band instruments and things like that. But this is a surplus down probably in Springfield. I think that's where you go for the computers. And it doesn't cost us anything unless we look at a catalog, if I understand it right, and we'd like to purchase some of those. Then we gotta send somebody down there and get them at a greater discount. It's whatever the state has excess of, be it desks, computers, instruments apparently. Do I understand that correctly, Mr. Aldridge?
Yes, that's what the school district has purchased in the past 12 years. It has purchased some band instruments, and then last year we were able to purchase 60 laptop computers to re-outfit our computer labs. But in the last 12 years, those are the only purchases that I can find on record. So,
I have a question. Do they go during school hours?
I'm sorry.
Okay, well, you have at least one teacher on the list. When they go to get these items, do they go during the school day? So that we would have to pay for maybe a substitute teacher or travel cost? Is there any cost associated with that?
Oh, I see Mr. Kleesner, science teacher, is on here. That is correct. Mr. Nettles as well. It is my understanding that Mr. Waddick's the only one that went, like I said, there's only record of a few purchases.
Yeah.
Mr. Waddick's band instruments were the ones that he was only part-time, so I believe he went on his own time to do that. And then for the laptop computers, it was Mr. Jokish and myself, and went down and got those. So,
And you have to take that into consideration. You know, it's not such a good deal sometimes if you're paying travel reimbursement and a substitute teacher.
That is true.
Something to consider.
Do you have the ultimate decision whether anyone goes or not? I mean, if Mr. Wanek, would they have to get your permission to go?
what has happened is Mr. Wanek has said that he's been notified by his, he's befriended the gentleman that runs the program down there. So when band instruments come in, he's given a call, and then he says, I've got these things, they're down there, is it okay if I go get them? And he says, there is a need for it, we need this new saxophone, it'll be this much, I'll put on new pads, it'll be this much, and blah, blah, we'll have basically a brand new saxophone. So it's only happened twice in the time that I've been here, and yeah, it's just been.
Okay. I have no problem with this as long as you are the one that approves it. That way you would know if there's a sub or travel expenses or whatever.
Well, when the invoice comes back to us and the federal government asks for payment, I better know about it ahead of time.
And should we add the new band director when there is one? I mean, can we amend this to add him to it?
That I'm not sure, but we have Mr. Jokish and myself. I don't know if you can amend this, what the process would have to
That's why I'm
be.
asking.
I don't know.
I don't know how much you know about band instruments.
I know nothing about that.
Something to
Probably a process of this application.
Mr. Giddens?
This- Is it too late to add the principal for LaSalle School? Because I didn't see anybody representing LaSalle School, or is that restricted?
South School doesn't have a band program.
Not band, but they have other things they may purchase.
I guess this
It's like April 20th.
This application was filled out in the same format as it was previously, so that's why the people that are here are on this application. But I do see that the following representatives are designated, and there is a place to mark additional designations only, and it's to add to previous authorizations. So it looks like we could use this form here, and as long as an authorized official has signed it, we should be okay to add people if we needed to.
Any other discussion?
Actually, I wouldn't. I'm fine. The problem is, not a problem, but to point out to the board, the resolution requires signatures of at least 4 trustees and the chairman or the president, and then is subscribed and sworn before the clerk. I would imagine secretary would work there. So we do need a number of signatures. It should be a dual sign.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Mr. Giddens.
Aye.
Mrs. Cagle.
Aye.
Catherine Reagan.
Aye.
Val Reagan.
Aye.
Mrs. Tyler.
Aye.
Mrs. Griner. Aye. Mrs. Bailey.
Aye, motion carried. Okay, the next one, I want to apologize to the board. Quickly, I went in to help make the agenda, and I made discussion motion, which is kind of confusing. So we'll try to get that better next time. The next one, we do not need a motion. I just need to make an appointment. And I've asked, well, Mrs. Griner was already on the committee, so I wanted to leave her on the negotiating committee. I asked Mrs. Cagle that she respectfully declined because she's going on vacation. And so Mrs. Valerie Reagan, will you do that? I believe it's this Thursday, so we have short notice. And myself, yes.
At what time?
I heard 3 o'clock. Is that confirmed yet?
That is not confirmed at this point because we should, as Mr. Triggs, when he gets here, just make,
All right. So it's not
I wasn't aware
confirmed,
of
but,
that. I wasn't aware of that, so.
all right.
So I guess we send out notice to the committee members. How's that sound? Notice of time.
Okay, the next one, I don't believe we need a motion. We need some kind of consensus on what the board wants as far as, correct one, committee of the whole or standing committees. It's been done both ways in the past. I don't know if one works any better than the others. It's just whatever the board prefers.
To do what now?
Either to have a standing committee, standing committees, or a board of the whole, which we all come to the meeting and I guess we all have input, or to break it up into having such as a transportation committee, or better yet, a policy committee, so that two people go over those policies. They can do the haves and had and shall and will, and then bring it to the board, telling us why they decided that, and then the board can go ahead and approve them. I mean, a committee cannot speak for the board. They have ideas, they bring it to the full board.
Well, you know, with me still being new, I like understanding, learning. I don't want to speak for you two, but it's been helpful for me to listen
To
in
do all.
on what you guys are doing.
We haven't done many committees, though.
We haven't, so.
I know.
It would be similar to the ad hoc committee that we did for the,
Right.
that's how they.
That's a good one.
That's how.
Well, and the rest committees here, I mean, I think Becky Kearns said that she was on the technology committee, so they did have committees.
I don't think they
Did
met.
they ever meet?
I don't know.
Did they?
We were on a committee, we never met,
But the only special
because the president.
meeting that I was aware of, other than like the insurance company, was
Right.
when we did that special thing. We did that special
And
meeting.
that was an ad hoc committee.
Right,
So
that
those
was
we
a
might still.
separate special
Sure.
meeting. But, I'm still learning.
This is
And I
what
don't know about you two, I mean, you've been on this thing before, Randy, I don't want to discount you, but, I just find it interesting when they are talking and they've been on this thing off and on forever. I'm just taking it all in, I'm still learning, I've only been on this thing for 2 years, and
takes a
I just wouldn't want to be excluded from a meeting.
You could go to
Even
the
if it's a
meeting,
special,
even if you're not on it. You could go to the committee meeting.
that's just my opinion.
That, like your ad hoc committee, I was there, and the only board members were you and Mrs. Briner, but Mrs. Bailey was there, Mrs. Strong was there. They sat in the audience and they observed, and actually, when you're not the decision maker, you're sitting there taking some better notes. So when you get to the board, but by showing up to those committee meetings, you also can hear firsthand. I know when we had the standing committees, they were a lot more informal. You know, we, like audience participation, they weren't cut off in 5 minutes because that standing committee was searching for information from not just administrators, teachers, anything. They were searching, some of those committees wants information from the community. So, I
Well, I
mean,
think we
like
even
your ad
turned
hoc
around
was
and asked Deanna and a couple of people
Yes,
questions
in the ad
while we
hoc.
were at that meeting.
at the ad hoc, but when you have that committee as a whole, it's so formal, and you're trying to cram so much stuff in there. In fact, the policy committee in just the 2 short years, like, when you got elected, they're a year and a half behind already from where there's policies. If you go to press online, you can see that we're a year and a half behind in adopting policies that are pretty much cut and dry. You come in and you look at it because nobody meets. I know when I first started coming, when I came back to board meetings, that committee went through building and grounds, finance, they went through a bunch of stuff. Whereas it directed down to, well, we can only do one thing. And time. So this way here, we can do a whole lot, because you may be meeting on a different night here, and another committee might be meeting. If you got time, you can come up and listen, and you have it, just like your ad hoc committee. Everybody, it's real informal is how we did it.
Right.
in the past.
And here's what
And it
we
was
had in the
constructive.
past, and I do have to say, I think there were too many committees, so it needs to be narrowed down. But we had building and grounds, curriculum, extracurricular, finance, food service, policy, public relations, technology, and transportation.
Oh, correct, we had that one.
But some of them would only meet once a year, maybe twice a year.
Oh, okay.
I mean, transportation, I believe, met at the beginning of school, and at the end, that was it. Food service was the same one.
Right. The thing is what it did is, the people on policy, the rest of us didn't spend 3 or 4 hours on the policy because they went through it with fine tooth comb and they came and said, these are the pros and cons of doing policy this way. And we just felt, I mean.
Right, you trust
they
your
did
other
their
board members to
homework
go through
really
it.
well. Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, I think 7 or whatever you just named off was like way too many.
I do too.
Finance, I think we always did as a whole in the past, when I was on the board. That was kind of, because none of us were experts in finance. So, and we were all making decisions and
Right.
had different questions. You know, you may look at something in finance, you look at something. If I remember right, finance, we kind of always did as a whole.
If we did separate committees, if we did that, what were you proposing as far as the committees?
I'm going to leave that up to the board. I don't think it's my decision.
Well, I mean, what were you thinking? I mean, because I feel like some of them should not.
Well, I would just
I
refer the
agree.
board to policy 2:150 in your packet F4. There are 3 standing committees in your policy. Board Policy Committee, Parent-Teacher Advisory Committee, Behavioral Interventions Committee, which can be combined with the Parent-Teacher Advisory Committee. So really, there's 2 actual standing committees. Anything else would be special board committees, and then those can go into whatever issues you may want or feel necessary. But your standing committees would be, at least, would be those 2. I would like to see curriculum be a board of, I mean, everybody needs that. Our test scores, we need to work on that. I think that's foremost in everybody's mind. And I think once a month, curriculum should be on the agenda, even if it's Mr. Aldridge just updating us on what we're doing, when, etc. Technology, probably the same way right now.
No,
Because I think we're planning on, hopefully, planning on turning the technology around in this district. So those 2 would, that's just my opinion. I'd really rather policy be separate committees.
Sorry.
I mean, that's up to
It
everybody
just
else.
takes so long to do those policies.
And we're so far.
Yeah, we're so far behind. So if we had a separate committee, it's like doing double the work. I mean double time on it.
Okay, now I'm confused.
Okay.
Because the Board Policy Committee is a standing committee. Okay. So that one is separate, and that one should be separate and on its own according to your board policy. Okay.
Yeah.
It hasn't been.
Curriculum and transportation, or I'm sorry, technology. Are you saying once a month you want those as,
Update, maybe.
Agenda items for discussion or updates.
is that a committee?
We don't know.
Okay, so I'm not the only one confused, okay. All right, sorry.
I'm not saying it would have to be, but I think the whole board needs to be included in those 2. Those are our main focus
So
right
then
now.
if there's issues in curriculum or updates needed, that's what
So the board president would just put it on one of the regular meeting or call a special meeting. They just place that on the agenda to discuss it as a board as a whole.
Well, I think.
Does everybody agree?
I think technology could be a separate committee, only because
Okay.
I will be honest, I am not the best in technology. I don't know all, like, there's iPads and there's, notebooks and netbooks and all this other stuff. And the Wi-Fi and all the systems where some other people are really great at technology, and why not let them investigate and talk to the people and bring it forth versus all of a sudden they're going, not sure.
Well, this is what I think about technology, and I think it's very eye-opening for this board, okay, is when somebody in our audience at one of the meetings said that our technology is so slow that the kids, even though we have a no technology usage of phones in our school, that the kids get out their phones because their computers are so stinking slow in our school, so the kids get out their phones to look up information because their phones are so much faster than our computers, okay? And the board and the people in the crowd are like, really? We have a no phone usage in our schools, oh my God. Okay, and then we're all like, oh, do they do that because we have a no phone usage in our schools? Oh my God, that's such a horrible thing. Well, hello, it's the only way for them to get their information is to get it off their phone because their phone has, 6 gigs or 8 gigs or whatever of information, but yet their computers at school are so a little bit slow. Of course they're going to use their phone, and then they'll turn it off afterwards and stick it back in the pocket. So, you know what I'm saying? So, that's our real world, and
So
But back
so
to-
yeah,
I wanna
so
get-
we need to, maybe
Does-
we do need to
is
have
that
that
a,
committee.
do we need a committee and then have committee meetings and discussions and then have that committee report back to the board on a monthly basis?
I would like that, because I mean, I think we really need to move forward on technology. We've been dragging our feet for a year and a half. We talked about getting more money, we talked about changing the infrastructure here. How much is that gonna cost? Let's get estimates, let's get moving.
And we were serious and got some information, and then we kind of poo-pooed it with our bids and went a totally different direction with who we have currently, so.
So we agree that technology should be a separate committee. What about building and grounds? Necessary, not.
Have those windows been sealed with leak water?
No one on the board knows. Mr. Aldridge?
Do we need a buildings and grounds committee?
Well, I mean, that answers my question, if we need a committee, because that was discussed a year ago, and I've never heard the board talk about it again.
Okay, we need a building and
That's
grounds.
what I was gonna say, just do it.
We used to have them.
Extracurricular.
I don't believe so.
I don't
Okay.
think so.
What was that? I missed that.
Extracurricular, no.
Okay.
Finance? Everybody kind of go with Mr. Giddens' suggestion of everybody does it?
Yes.
Okay. Food service? Policy?
What? Yes,
So here's the standing committee.
Okay,
Standing
I'm sorry,
Leave it
okay.
as a standing.
it's already in the,
So we have building and grounds, policy, technology, public relations. I think you're our PR person, so I don't think we need that. And if we have another dinner, Mrs. K will. So, do you want a standing committee? Because you took that, okay. Okay, transportation. Needed? Okay, so we have building and grounds, policy, technology.
any other ones?
I would like to see a board member appointed to this parent-teacher advisory committee as stated in the board policy.
Okay? We'll do that. Discuss. Do we have anybody that wants to volunteer, other than me appoint them to that committee? Mr. Giddens, would you want to volunteer?
No, he's policy.
You can do both.
I can do. I know there's a great deal of work in policy, I'll do it. Believe me, also these other committees.
Yeah, that's fine.
We spent an entire summer doing that, and Mr. Bachler remembers.
I like how
Mrs.
Mrs.
Rager
Rager just
remembers.
appointed him to policy.
Sorry. I just think he would be good.
But you're also on all these committees,
Yeah,
Mrs. Bailey.
I know.
And you need another person for policy?
Yes, I do. Okay. Who else wants to volunteer for policy? Okay. The chair is in charge of doing the meeting, and the assistant chair is to do the minutes and turn them into the board, just in case. What else is left? Technology, our building and grounds. Anybody want building and grounds?
I'll volunteer.
Okay, anybody else? Me too. Mrs. Cagle?
Yeah.
Okay. Technology. Mrs. Reagan does not want to do technology.
Technology.
Okay. You already have one. You already have one, Mrs. Cagle. But you can always come to meetings. Mrs. Kreiner, do technology. Okay. Mrs. Reagan, do you want something? Can you share in another committee?
What about academics?
Mr. Giddens going to be, you want to be on the parent-teacher advisory? And he can have policy.
I thought we did academics.
Are we doing curriculum? I think we all need to do curriculum.
Oh, well, I'll do curriculum.
The board table, okay.
Yeah, I'll do, the parent advisory then.
Okay. Is that all right with you, Mr. Giddens? She will do the parent advisory.
It was a great
You
help
will do
having the
policy.
parents.
Yeah, no, we need one. Okay. So, I think that's it. Did I get them all, Mr. Wilkie?
I'm missing one in technology.
Oh,
It's myself and Mrs. Cagle.
yes, I think, well, that gave her two.
Myself.
Do you want tech?
Buildings and grounds, and you want Captain Tech, she's going for engineering.
Yeah, I
Oh.
have computer engineering, so.
Okay, all right, switch those then.
But they could never talk at home.
That's why I'm doing buildings and grounds.
That's
Oh,
what I'm
we'll
saying.
switch. So you'll take buildings and grounds and I will be off.
Yeah, and I'll take technology.
You're going to
Wait,
take
no,
technology.
no,
No, I
No.
will take buildings and grounds, she will take.
Okay. Do you have it? Mr. Aldridge, could you read back the committees for us, please?
I wish I could. I really do. I really wish I could.
I think I have it.
Okay, go for it. Building and grounds, who's on it?
Yeah.
And,
Mrs. Cagle. Policy is Mr. Giddens and Mrs. Tyler. Technology is myself and Mrs. Cagle. The Parent Advisory Committee then is Catherine.
No, Catherine's technology.
Okay,
She's your
okay,
tech.
instead of Mrs. Cagle.
and
Gotcha.
Mrs. Cagle is building and grounds.
Okay.
Does she have anyone with her?
The parent advisory, who's the second person?
Only one.
Or one person, that's right.
Okay. Well, she has a committee now, so it doesn't have to be.
She's just part of that community.
We'll figure it out, too. All right, moving on. We have the attorney coming at 7, so we need to get done. We need a motion designating the district financial depository.
Make the motion to approve Morton Community Bank as a financial depository for the Creve Coeur District 76.
Second.
2016.
Yes, ma'am. Please amend my motion to include that.
Sorry.
We don't do that yearly, we only do it every 2 years.
That's why I didn't put it on the motion.
Sorry, for 2017 then.
I wouldn't put a date at all.
Okay, fine.
Well, unless you want to change it, I wouldn't put a date on it.
They've been our depository for
The last 30 years.
Okay,
Ever.
I will return to my original motion that had no date in it.
I'll second.
Any discussion, questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Giddens.
Aye.
Mrs. Cagle.
Aye.
Catherine Reagan.
Aye.
Val Reagan.
Aye.
Mrs. Tyler.
Aye.
Mrs. Greiner. Aye. Mrs. Bailey.
Aye, motion carried. Need a motion regarding the recording secretary for the Board of Education.
I'll make the motion to approve Stephanie Walton as a recording secretary for the Board of Education.
Have a second?
Second. Second.
Discussion? Carefully. Not saying that Mrs. Holly Callahan hasn't done an outstanding job for us. I mean, she's done a great job for the last 2 years.
Does she even want to do that?
I
It's in
don't
her
know.
job description.
Yeah, looking through the job description, thing of it is, she starts it. She starts the agenda, I mean, of course, with Mr. Aldridge. He gives it to her, she starts the agenda, she goes all the way through it. Then we hand it over to somebody else. If you go back to the job description, unless it's been changed, there's a whole list of things that, right, that she's supposed, I mean, she was supposed to do. So it was my thought that it might be easier to keep the same person there. Number 10, gives public notice and attends all meetings of the board. 11, keeps full and accurate minutes of all meetings of the board and sends a copy of such minutes to each member of the board prior to the next regular scheduled meeting of the board. Assists in the preparation of agendas, setting forth all known items of business to be considered at board meetings and delivers agendas to board members in a timely fashion. Publishes all legal notices concerning district business, all board stuff. So that was my point in letting her have it back so that she could follow it from beginning to end.
And all of those duties she does do except the attending of the meetings. So, and it was,
And the delivery of the board package.
she expressed the that she would like to politely decline, if at all possible. Is that something she would?
I think that's okay to stipend for that. Is she not going to, I mean, how's that work?
Only the board secretary, who's a non-employee, is also the recording secretary. The board can allow, or make an allowance, a stipend for the recording secretary who's a member of the board, and it's $500 per year.
Oh, we did do that. I mean, we did.
It was separated in her
Yes,
salary.
we gave
You're right.
her money.
Why?
Because she was delivering packets and she was doing.
That's a
all
part
this.
of it. But if it's a part of her job description, then why are you
Because
paying an
we
extra
did.
stipend?
It came out of a different account. I mean, on the budget.
Okay, so was it above her annual salary? If it was above her annual salary, it wouldn't matter which account it came out of.
All I know is on the salary
I wasn't
schedule-
here, so
know
I
you
really
weren't.
don't
I
know.
you weren't.
But I
And,
don't think she's seen increases.
no, that's what Mrs. Reagan's saying. She never seen
Oh,
a
is it?
decrease
Oh,
in
okay.
salary. Now, she may have taken on more jobs, different jobs.
I thought we paid like $2,500 a year for that kind of job. I mean, it was, and we increased it at one point because it was taking her more time. I just remember that.
I mean, I don't see how, she can help make the agenda, she's not at the meetings. Do you update her constantly about the meetings, or?
We work very closely together since she's my administrative assistant, yes. So she's aware of the things, the action items, the things, the votes that are taken at the board meeting. I come back and give her my notes and my synopsis of the meeting. If it's necessary that she be here because my notes are not necessary or inaccurate, that's fine.
I would think it would be easier on you if she was here.
And we do, in the 2 years that I've been here, I haven't experienced any problem, but it's at the board's pleasure.
Okay, I'm a little confused. So you give Stephanie the minutes and she types them up, is that correct?
No,
He does minutes.
combination of Ms. Callahan and myself, we compile the minutes, and then those minutes are given to Ms. Walton for inclusion in the board book, and those put into the packets and that kind of thing.
So Holly's typing them up?
Yes, the initial drafts, yes.
Okay.
More discussion or?
My only comment,
Go ahead.
it's going back, continuity of having, I like how and everything, but continuity of having two people from the district office that are talking to each other, or if there was a misunderstanding or something, they can clear it up because they were both present. And unfortunately, Ms. Callahan's in another building altogether across town. I just know that the district secretary may have been reminding the previous superintendents of some of the stuff, or they heard directly from a board member, or which board member, and things like that. And it just sped things up.
Ms. Callahan and I communicate after the board meetings, and as she drafts the meeting minutes, and I review the meeting minutes, it goes. As I said, I haven't experienced any real problems in this process, but as the board shall vote.
Comments?
Or maybe we just need to change job descriptions and do it until we get change the job description, because if it's in there, it's part of responsibility. If we're gonna talk like Mr. Aldrich said earlier, the rules, follow the policies, we need to do it.
Police for violence and
Until
outcomes.
we can change it, to give everything to Holly maybe, I don't know. I think that we need to,
Right, because her job description does not include that.
yeah, the delivery of the packets, the putting together the agenda. Because I know in the past, and nothing against Mrs. Kegel's had to do it the last couple of times. And in the past before that, I know some board members said they didn't want to be delivering it. They couldn't get off work in time, and who's going to deliver it? And, you know, it was always a discussion. I would bring their packets.
It's important.
Electronically would be nice.
Would be that some people don't like electronic.
Hold that thought, Mrs. Pickle. Hold that thought. Any other discussion? We have a motion on the table as Mrs. Stephanie Walton as recording secretary. Roll call, please.
Mr. Giddens?
Aye.
Mrs. Cagle?
No.
Catherine Reagan?
Aye.
Val Reagan?
Aye.
Mrs. Tyler?
Aye.
Mrs. Griner? Aye. Mrs. Bailey?
Aye, motion carried.
Ms. Griner, you first. Ms. Reagan, you second. Is that
Yeah.
correct? I missed that part.
Yes. I would like to take a quick consensus of the board. Mr. Triggs has arrived, so if it would be okay with the board, I think we need to move executive session up, not to take his time, and then we can continue the meeting when we get back. Is that, have everyone's? Okay. Would we have a motion to enter into executive session, please?
Make the motion to enter into executive session for appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body and collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or representatives.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Giddens?
Aye.
Mrs. Cagle?
Aye.
Catherine Reagan?
Aye.
Val Reagan?
Aye.
Mrs. Tyler?
Aye.
Mrs. Griner? Aye. Mrs. Bailey?
Aye, motion carried. We need a motion to return to regular session.
Make the motion to return to regular session.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Giddens?
Aye.
At
Oh,
8:27 p.m. Is that correct?
close enough. 8:27.
Mr. Giddens?
Aye.
Mrs. Cagle?
Aye.
Catherine Reagan?
Aye.
Val Reagan?
Aye.
Mrs. Tyler?
Aye.
Mrs. Griner? Aye. Mrs. Bailey?
All right, motion carried.
Sorry for the interruption.
In executive session, we discussed employee contracts and personnel matters. And negotiations. Yes, thank you. All right. Information items. G1. This is new board member mandatory training. which Mr. Aldridge has included information from the IASB in your packets. And there are also online options. If you don't want to attend Friday and Saturday, I think all of it can be done online. Am I correct? Or is there one part?
I believe there is a portion of the mandatory training that has to be done in person. A lot of it is online, especially the Open Meetings Act, the Freedom of Information Act, those kind of, those areas there. But I believe the governance through, effective governance, I'd have to look at it.
That
Well,
was
it's
when they first
2011,
did it.
yeah.
Saturday session.
There you go.
They don't have to be at anyway.
Mandatory training, basics of governance. The mandatory training is the,
I don't believe that part's mandatory, is
No,
it?
that's the Saturday session.
Okay.
So you can discount to a vote.
And I believe when we took the prayer training online, Mrs. Walton had to set that up. There was a cost to the district, but it was a lot cheaper than going to one of the meetings.
I should have.
I know she has to schedule it for us.
Joint meetings are pretty beneficial, though. I must say, I got a lot out of it. So,
Yeah, if you get
time with little.
If you get the day off work, I mean, it's Friday.
Yeah, not much notice either.
Yeah, just take the day off.
oh, there's
There are other ones, but not
But it's
close.
not in the area.
East Peoria is Friday.
Springfield.
Okay, Springfield's not.
Then you have to pay mileage.
Urbana, Moline, Deerfield, Jacksonville, Holmesby, McConnell, Mount Vernon, Kankakee, Carbondale, Springfield, East Peoria.
We need that what, within 90 days.
Actually,
I think it was 90 days.
yeah, the rest of it is.
Okay,
But they only employees.
so you would probably still have the opportunity to take it in Chicago before it goes in November.
That's a good idea.
I know they've always had it before.
I believe that is their practice, yes.
Okay, all right, you've been, question?
Thank you.
All right. Discussion of new board member orientation. I took Mr. Aldridge, my manual, I guess. It needs to be updated. It was from 2008, so it's a bit behind, and he's going to work on updating that. Is there anything that you can think of you want in that manual? If there is, just email him or I, and we can add that to it.
I'm sorry, I would have to go get you had a list of the documents in there. I know there was a collective bargaining agreement, there was board packet, agenda, orientation exhibit, and things like that.
Staff directory, just things that we normally have and we need to,
What about job descriptions? Because I know somebody asked me about that, what, you know,
job
certain
description would
acronyms
be
were.
good. I don't
I'd
know.
like to have an updated job description.
Yeah.
Okay. But I think we'll probably set that in June. I think it'll take a while to get all that together.
Since this, I mean, we are 2.5 weeks away from the end of school, I would prefer to have the time to put together the packets, although Ms. Walton is diligently working away at it, so she's gotten a good start at it. But I would prefer sometime in June. I will contact board members with possible dates and get information. How's that?
Okay, very good. Okay,
Yeah, I just want to be clear. Does everyone want a copy of the new board member orientation booklet, handbook binders? Or are you just wanting a copy of the job description? Big difference.
Since we didn't get one, I'd like,
You wouldn't hurt to have one,
yeah.
because there's
It's all in
probably
one
an
place that way.
orientation in there.
So I will need at least seven board member orientation binders produced. Okay. No, ma'am. I don't think anybody's seen them since 2008.
I think you missed board orientation.
Yeah, no.
I don't think there was. No.
Okay, school attorney to attend all board meetings. We just want some input. It was mentioned, I put it on the agenda. Not sure it's necessary. But Mr. Triggs did mention to me that he is not available on the first and third Tuesday of the month. So if in July, when we have to reset the board meetings, the day, we might want to take that into consideration. So does anybody have any input on having them at every meeting? Yes, no?
See, we plan 2 regular meetings a month, right?
I want to clarify that,
Okay.
that we are having 2 regular meetings. We went to the standing committees, then we can discuss the committees, but it's still a regular meeting, so we're not having these special meetings all the time. I call them cow meetings, committee of the whole meetings.
Yes?
I think we need 2 regular meetings, one at which we discuss committees.
You mean you get
Okay,
committee
because I didn't
reports?
understand that at all. That's not anything that was in the discussion that I was hearing.
Okay, well,
But that way your hands aren't tied as far as any action that needs to be taken, like that policy that had to be done by, I think it was what, March 15th or April 15th. And we had to have a special meeting that day to do it.
So
Because we
2
couldn't add to the committee of the whole meeting.
2 regular meetings per month. Okay. 1 at which we will discuss, or topics to include committee reports. Is that what I'm hearing? I just want to be clear because I'm trying to understand what the board is, what the intent is, or what your desires are.
one meeting needs to be a business meeting that we pay. We could pay bills at both. We need to pay bills at both because that helps the bookkeeper out. Minutes, for example, approval of minutes, that could be at the last one of the month.
Pretty much
Input?
to the board president. If something comes up between, let's say you got 2 regular meetings, that way we can openly speak about
Exactly.
anything, any new business,
Right.
anything, without our hands being tied. One could be more student focused, committee reports or anything like that. The other one's concentrating on school, business, or whatever. But you have the flexibility, we need to get this done tonight, because of whatever event.
My intent was to get away from the special meetings because it limits you so much.
I understand that. But if we're doing business primarily at 1 meeting, Mr. Triggs very informative tonight, and that's very helpful. So we wouldn't need him at every meeting per se, do we? I mean, if one's more informational meeting, but if there's an event that comes up that we need some
Guidance.
advice,
Okay.
you call them.
Okay.
I would say it's needed. Hopefully we need to raise the money to have him.
I agree.
Not that it's money raised, but he is very informative, but
Yes.
I just don't think it's
So
necessary.
the school attorney is not to attend all board meetings, but on an as-needed basis is determined by the board president.
I believe that's a consensus of the board, so yes. Okay. Any other questions or? Okay, moving on, 8th grade promotion/graduation. No, it's supposed to be promotion, I'm still graduation. Mr. Aldridge told you what time, 6:30, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I will not be there.
That's what we need to know. How many seats on stage for him? Tradition has been both ways. Years and years ago, I believe they would pick 2 board members to hand out diplomas. A few years later, it was the entire board, and we would all take turns. I want to know what you people would like to do. Want to sit on stage? Yes? No? East Peoria High School, all board members are sitting on stage. I don't know how many is going to present the diplomas. It's up to you guys.
I mean, I would like to be there, but, I mean, if you don't want everyone handing out diplomas, that's fine.
That's
but-
up to us. But you would like to be there?
Yeah, yes.
I'm kind of being there, but not necessarily on hand on stage. I mean, I'm comfortable greeting the students as they're coming back, taking their share, you know. You have your presentation on stage, and instead of having a whole cluster of people right there, people get to focus on the kids walking through instead of all those board members and all those other people on stage. We can keep it down, the number of people up there. But I'd like to be, when they come back past me, I think we got to set, the board members that wasn't handing out diplomas, we were privileged enough to sit in the front row in the audience, you know. It was us, students, or teachers might have been up front, but we got to sit there in the front row. And then I'd like to greet, you know, congratulate the kids. Just trying to reduce the number up there, so everybody on the camera's got all of that.
Either way.
I can see how we used to do it. We weren't a cluster up there. What, two people would just sit. We would sit back, and then only two people would come forward and hand out diplomas. The whole board was not present with each.
We didn't
Right.
engage students.
And we didn't greet them at all. Right, exactly, we didn't greet them.
It's
which
about
I
the kids.
understand.
It's not about.
Yeah, we just kind of stood back, and then that way they could go step off the stage and get their picture taken, and then,
Okay, the board will be on
Greet 'em
stage,
back.
we'll decide who's
All-
going to give out the diplomas between ourselves.
So all 6 members,
Plan on being
All six, okay.
6 board members on the stage.
I have some corrections to the
Yes.
program. There's some misspelling of board members' names. Did you get that correct?
That's a draft. It says to be determined and all of that stuff, so it wasn't meant, that's not the final. No.
Good. All right, building walkthroughs. There again, this is something the board used to do. We kind of got out of the habit. In fact, it used to be board policy, and that has since changed. I still think it's a good idea. So, Mr. Aldridge and I have talked, and we think this month, like next Tuesday, might be a little too soon. But I would like to do it in the first meeting in June. We would meet at Parkview. We need to start the meeting and then do a walkthrough and have the principal take us on that tour and point out maybe stuff that needs to be done. Mr. Aldridge can point out problems. Because it's going to come to the board eventually for a payments list. If we know it ahead of time, it makes a whole lot more sense. No, I think we can do LaSalle the end of June. Okay, 2 meetings. We might be doing Homewood in July, but it would be a quick one because we want to do it when they're not there, since
and
we
did we
rent
used
the
to do
building.
it, the how, what we do, summer work?
During summer work.
Like what kind of painted and what,
But it's going to be actually past that.
right, which is.
But we still need to get in and check the buildings out. I think that's part of the board's responsibility.
Well, you have committees buildings and grounds, so that'll help with that.
That will help.
So if I understand that, we would call the meeting to order at that place, and then we would take, what, a 30-minute or whatever, 20-minute walk through with the principal,
And then continue with the meeting.
and then come back and continue the meeting in that building.
Correct. Okay, and I think once a year is enough unless something else were to come up. All right, the next item is discussion of summer school. I'm going to turn that over to the board members' opinions. Go ahead, Mr.
Y'all
Gibbs.
know I got a strong opinion on that.
Yes.
Because I have been looking at the ISAT scores primarily. I mean, that's the only thing I had to look at for 3 years. And that's what the state grades us on. That's what the report card has and everything else. And I broke them down. I've gone to the interactive website, and I've looked at something else that makes the graphs quicker. but break further detail. There was something that I noticed a year ago. A group of children, it was a grade level, and they were walking, I mean, looking at them, I seen their first ISAT scores where they were at, and it was a plunge. And I've watched this group of students, that class, year after year, continue falling. In fact, the last scores that we got, the last report card, if you look, I meant to bring it, 75% of them are not even meeting the state standards. I don't remember if it was in reading and math. The 70% is not meeting the standards in the other. It was reading and math that they were showing on the graph that I brought to each of your candidates. To me, that's unacceptable. I've been attending the board meetings for 3 years. I haven't heard anything to address that or what they were doing. And I've been given a lot of thought. I think a summer school, whether it be 3 weeks, not for the entire summer and not all day long, but concentrate on this group of children. We only got them one more summer. And, watch them going down. I'd like to get information quickly because we're running out of time from the principal and the teachers at Parkview, knowing that we may be considering a summer program. And it may end up being a 3 or 4 week program before school starts up. Getting these kids ready for the grade they're about to enter. We also need a principal to help identify the students. If we go with this, they have to inform the parents, this is what we're going, and explain why they've been selected. And, do we transport them by bus? I mean, there's a lot of
You've got a
details
lot, yeah.
to get worked out in a very short order of time.
Also, the state says if you offer summer school, you have to feed the whole district. Unless you get a waiver, but it might be too late to get that waiver.
And how if we have a full day summer school, I'm only talking about reading and math, the 2 areas that the state's looking at, trying to get them up so they can enter the next grade and be more comfortable, so that teacher can take off. When I was a kid, the first week or 2, you're catching up what you forgot over the last summer. Well, these kids are further than that behind. If we can get them into school and get them to working and get them further along, then that doesn't hold the whole class back. And we're talking 3/4 of the class needs help.
Well, that's what I was saying. How do you determine who's going to get help? If you need 3/4 that get help, you'd almost need all the kids here the whole summer.
But you're not going to get all the parents to volunteer. There'll be a few that move out. And, it's not something that you can force the kids come and do. I'm looking at a pilot program because it is a short notice. And my thoughts, we need teachers, they're the experts. You know where their scores are at. You know what they need. Do they go and take that 100, simple drill, 100 questions? How many can you answer right for math or something like that? The teachers knows what they need, and then the principal can separate them out. Then we got to get the parents informed. The board is, if enough of you go along, is considering some type of program. We need contact information. They're not making a commitment when they leave school, but we have contact information if the board goes along. But we need details from what are they going to teach, and is it cost effective?
Well, also, because I was looking at what other districts are doing in other states, a lot of them are doing it's an online learning system where you could get 5 kids for $23 in this online learning system. And maybe we could go to something and look at that, because then you could get maybe a teacher to come in with 5 kids or 10 or however we're going to set it up and do this at your own pace learning system. There's lots of options. Even another one in California, they were doing with the local library, because our library has a reading program. And I think every year they involve the school and they hand out flyers and things like that. Mm-hmm. Is that correct? So can we maybe even do something with their reading program so that we could enhance our children's reading with the teacher and work with their reading program in order to, facilitate more kids? I don't know what the option is, but there's, a lot of other districts have the same problems, and they are coming up with inventive ways to educate the kids. And another school was doing, they weren't doing summer school, but they were doing this, they were adding aides during the school year, so that the teachers could do more one-on-one in every classroom. And a lot of times because there's a lot of teachers out there, excess teachers, and there's not a lot of jobs, that a lot of like educators were taking these jobs. And essentially you were having 2 teachers in the classroom, but you were paying an aide wage, and it was helping bring the scores up. I mean, I don't know what the answer is, but I don't know if, I mean, I think maybe we could do a combination of each.
2 weeks before the end of school, what options do we have? What can we do for these children this summer? We know more about the waiver and all that.
Whatever the board wants to put out there. I have an all-star, awesome staff that will put it together. We don't have anything in the budget for this school year. There's nothing in this budget, so it will have to be after July 1st, and the board will have to be committed to the payment
Right.
of this, okay? But, you know, we've got a lot of ideas, and I'm not poo-pooing anything. I'm just saying, you know, we've got to finish school, we've got to wrap up school, we've got to ramp up all of the projects to get the district back into shape, start all over again. The burden to put something together or to slap something together, yeah, we can slap something together. If that's what you want, we could slap something together. I would rather have something that's a little more thought out. I think the past 2 years, you guys kind of understand that I like to be methodical, think things out, have some data. Cost effectiveness, that's a great point. I don't know that going in and giving kids 100 questions on math is cost effective. What we need to do is to figure this out. That's a perfect thing for the curriculum committee to discuss for 2016 summer.
Yeah, but I don't,
But these kids can't wait.
right. So do we start next year with the aides, like in August? I mean, they can't wait. Do we work with the library and see what kind of reading program you have? And
Tell me what
any
you would like.
volunteers? I mean,
There
I
is,
just don't
there
think
is
it would-
something that's already kind of in place, but it's not through the school. The Tazewell County Center over here does have a program, I don't know if there's a cost involved or not, but from preschool through, I think, 10-year-olds, she's trying, Sister Poor Marie is trying to get some type of program going to where kids can come in, and she was telling Terry and I that she could actually feed them breakfast and feed them lunch and have them, and actually help them with math and reading, and I don't know if she had a cost involved to that or not, but she was willing to do that, and it wouldn't get to the junior high kids, I don't think, but she was telling us the other day something about that, so I mean, it is something that is already kind of established. She just doesn't get anybody that really cares enough to even come there and talk to her about that, and she's more than willing to come and talk to somebody about that. So, you know, I could maybe put her in touch with somebody here, because that's kind of something that she's already got established. And I know it's not school district wise,
but if it's,
but it's already
We want-
something that's established,
Right.
you know, so I mean, she's already got something going, even maybe if she could get a couple of the teachers
Flyers.
to volunteer, or to kind of go in with her, or maybe some of the aides to volunteer. Maybe some of the parents would be willing to do that as something for this year. I don't know, I mean, that could be a quick fix.
Even if we could get tutoring.
Right.
Have our
So-
I guess
teachers,
what this online thing was more like a tutoring system.
right. Even if we had to maybe work with the library because of what's hot in these
And
buildings.
they have lots of computers over there.
Okay.
If there's a
Are you getting
charge
started?
to this Sister Poor Marie's thing, I don't know what the actual name of that place is, or we call
And
it
if
back.
she-
I mean, maybe if there's a charge that maybe we could help supplement that for some of these kids. I mean, I could go over there.
I don't
we
know,
have
we
tomorrow.
tried to do something, we tried to some outside agency.
But I don't know, I mean, I could find out some more
I
details.
personally would rather have our teachers, but if we could set something up at the library, you're right, because our buildings are being cleaned during the summer. That's a distraction, and it's hard for our janitors to get in clean with kids in and out of the building.
And what Rick said, our computers are not the best, they might be antiquated. So they have good computers and our teachers are willing to go there and tutor them.
I'm looking for our teachers to do it. They know where the children are at. I don't want teachers, please don't misunderstand me. I don't want people pointing fingers at somebody else. Well, they didn't teach. That is not my intent. My intent is to help these kids. When you see 75% not making, 70% not making, in these two subject areas, I look at these, when these kids leave here soon, going to high school, and then find out where they're at, where they're really, they would have to wait right now until they reach high school to find out where they're really at. I think we need to communicate to the parents, your child really needs this. Look at this. Our board is looking at this. I'm disappointed where they're at, and I don't want to wait and see them become freshmen, and then the child start thinking, I give up. How many of those 70% not making it? I mean, only 30% of them are making the grade, and 25% in the other subjects making the grade. When they get down to high school, how many of them are going to graduate from high school when they're that far behind? That's the gap I want to close. That's the gap. I know it's after July 1
Right.
because of the budget and everything else. But if you're not going to get a kid or a parent probably to let them spend the entire summer in school. Everybody has to, and we got to get the parent to understand this. You see what, is on the building and everything else. However, your child is here. Our board is trying to deter dropouts. That's the goal, my goal with the program. The teacher right now says when they came in, this is where I was ready to teach, but this group of children, I had to start back here. I'm not blaming anyone, it's just, I have not seen where the Board of Education has stepped up to the plate and said, we're going to help.
And
I'm
our
ready to
teachers
help.
know what they need.
That's why I ran. I'm ready to help. And it's this summer, because we go another summer, we got a group of children, I don't know how many's going to make it through high school.
So can we at least take that first step and notify the parents that they are so far behind? Get some feedback on interest if we were to provide some kind of a program in our district, and if transportation would be a deciding factor for them. Is that a good way to start? I mean, we can plan all we want. If they're not going to make sure their children get here, it's not going to do any good.
And if we do set it up, if all of a sudden this child keeps missing, they're probably, I don't know if it's going to be a 3-week, 4-week program, half a day. I'm thinking, but I'm not a teacher. I need the input from the experts. If I come in and spend 50 minutes on math teaching, and then the next 50 minutes they're doing their homework, their summer homework.
So why
And the teacher's walking
don't
around.
we let the experts
Exactly.
think
But
about
that's what we
this
need.
and put it together for 2016? I don't know if we're going to be able to get the waiver to even do a half-day program, okay, for food services. That's one thing we'll have to, that's the first step. Are we going to have to provide that type of level of service when we provide summer school?
If you're providing tutoring, which you have to.
They make me a big tutor.
I don't know what they define as summer school.
If you only go 3 or 3.5 hours, do you have to provide?
Yes.
Okay, I don't know.
Yes, I think Mr. Aldrich
Summer
needs to bring back some information for us.
But we need it quickly, because we need to, I think, it to the parents. Mr. Yocum needs to get these letters, and Mr. Aldrich put together this letter. This board wants to do this.
If not,
Was
maybe
interested in doing
look
this.
at what we could do for the next school year.
Because they're going to be gone.
No, they'll be here in August.
Yes, in August, but I don't want to wait till next summer to start with them.
No, but I mean, if we can't do anything this summer, I mean, I would love to do something this summer. I know that, again, the library has a summer reading program. Maybe we could help make incentives for people to join that. I don't know. But the thing is if we can't do a summer program, we need to do something in August. If it's even after-school tutoring, if it's during the day tutoring, we need to do something.
I guess we need to do both if we can.
That's what I'm thinking. I want to do both, but whatever we need to help, I mean, and only the teachers know what we need to give them. We have to talk to them.
I'll spend all the money you give me on teachers.
I
I'll
will give
spend
you all the money.
all the money you you give me on teachers,
No, I looked at it, I think
on
it,
technology,
additional aid
on
per
everything.
classroom would be $208,000 next year. Sorry.
No,
That's what I calculated. in
And
aid per
how many more in certified teachers?
Well,
Program,
how many?
not instructional aides. Not instructional aides. How many more certified teachers to give instruction, classroom instruction?
If you have a teacher per classroom and an aide per classroom.
she's putting every aid in.
Okay? The teacher has to provide the instruction.
To the aide.
No. Has to provide the instruction to the student.
Right, and the aide can help
Of
as
course,
well.
of course.
So
But
I have
provide per-
$208,000 for extra aides.
Okay,
$208,000 for extra classroom assistants.
Right.
I will build that into the budget.
Well, no, it's just me, I'm just one number.
But
So
we
can
gotta
you
do
see why when
something.
you put
I
a
mean,
group
I
of
would
people
do it.
together, you don't get details and you don't get things formulated quick enough to get down to, we want to do something tomorrow.
Well,
or
I
something.
said for August,
So,
I think this can be done by
and he
August.
needs direction for next week.
I think direction for next week, see if we can get a waiver for summer school, what we can do, if the tutoring counts as summer school, what can we do?
Even if we have to go an extra step, you know, and say, well, you're past the date. Okay, then who do I contact to get that waived? Can the regional do it? If she can't do it, can the State Board of Education do it? Look at our scores. We want to do something now. We don't want to wait. We've waited too long, because I've watched this trend for the past 8, 9 years. This district, except for 1 year, we made that one jump. On the AYP, we made it that 1 year. But we've been declining. And these children here, I've watched all of their tests. And unfortunately, the entire grade. Now, the children coming in right behind them, you will watch. They jump up. So don't blame the teacher for something, or teachers failing or something. And I don't blame the kids. We are not providing this group of kids what they need.
Well, and also I think Brenda needs to do her avenue as well, and see if Sister Coleman is willing to volunteer her time and accept all the children in there, and see if she needs any help with someone to volunteer.
Because we're looking at
I think
13-year-olds.
she just needs it promoted. But Randy, Mr. Gibbons, sorry.
Randy's fine. I'm good.
Summer school, it doesn't have to be a total summer school. Couldn't we just do something for an hour or two? I mean, that's better than nothing.
Well, that's what we.
Well,
that's what we
That's
have
what I'm
to
saying.
That's what we have to find out what the state
Figure out.
requirements are.
Yes,
What we
that's,
can do.
Still might have to require us to
Okay.
do them.
I don't see getting kids in there all day in the summer. That's not going to be productive.
So
Okay,
let me
clear
get this.
direction, thank
Let
you.
me get this right. First, step one needs to be to determine whether or not, or what type of program could possibly be provided this summer. All right? If there is such a program, we need to send a letter home to the parents to get a survey back that says, are you interested in, to determine need? Because I can put this all together, I can have 5 teachers there, I can have all the buses you want, I can have all the food that you want, but if only 3 kids show up, where's your cost effectiveness? Okay?
Right.
So, all right, so I'm just trying to understand what my mission here is.
And I
Okay, so,
if you want to transfer these kids, the parents can
That's why
transfer
I
them.
said, you need to see, if it's a make or break deal, yes, I'll send him, but I need him transported. If you have enough of those, then I would run the buses.
I think
A
that's the
bus.
first step, the second county survey to find out.
Yeah.
I agree. See if there's a need first.
let's see what we
know
can
there's
do.
a-
Now-
There's an
Let's see,
interest.
because,
Right.
yeah, I don't want to get parents hyped up on it, and then if we find out that the state says, no, you've got to do this,
Right.
and we don't have time to do that.
That's what I think
Yeah.
we should see.
Okay, so we can definitely start that process and let the board know at its next meeting regarding what the state requirements are.
What, I'm targeting 8th graders, maybe I didn't mention that. They're going into high school the year after. So if we do a pilot program, and if we can do it right, then we can look at, do we need to expand it? We can look at all the students. What we're doing now, is, to me, is unacceptable, and that's why I'm here.
You're talking the current 7th graders.
The
that will be
current
going
7th
there.
graders, because we won't have them a year later. I want to help them now, and if I can save some from being disappointed when they get to high school.
Mr. Aldridge will bring us back information next board meeting.
And it's gonna be hard to get over with
But if you get the parents in and get them involved and tell them where they're at and explain, they may drop out if we don't help them.
Okay. Are there any visitors wishing to address the board on any matter? All right, we need a motion for a substitute cook, playground supervisor.
Okay, I'll make the motion to place Judy Franks on the substitute cook and playground supervisor list following the required background check.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Anything else?
Only comment is that this person will be placed on the non-certified contract. Salary be set is determined by the non-certified contract.
Does it like,
Correct.
there's something else you want to say?
Did you want that in the motion or just in the comments?
Comments are probably good enough, as long as it's in the minutes,
Okay,
where the public knows what we're paying.
roll call, please.
Mr. Giddens.
Aye.
Mrs. Cagle. Catherine Reagan.
Aye.
Val Reagan.
Aye.
Mrs. Tyler. Mrs. Griner, aye. Mrs. Bailey.
Aye, motion carried. Need a motion regarding the groundskeeper.
I'll make a motion to employ Richard Burlett as groundkeeper on an as-needed basis at the rate of $13.32 per hour in accordance with the support staff collective bargaining agreement. Effective the agreement. I'm just getting there.
Second.
Any questions? Comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Giddens.
Aye.
Mrs. Cagle. Catherine Reagan.
Aye.
Val Reagan.
Aye.
Mrs. Tyler.
Aye.
Mrs. Griner, aye. Mrs. Bailey.
Aye, motion carried. Okay, I hope the next agenda gets a little bit easier. Less
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Giddens.
Aye.
Mrs. Cagle.
Aye.
Catherine Reagan.
At 9:05.
Val Reagan.
Aye.
Mrs. Tyler.
Aye.
Mrs. Griner, aye. Mrs. Bailey.
Motion carried. Meeting adjourned.